Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael and we're going to be getting right back into some more Reddit stories. If you enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Now, without further ado, let's begin. This story was posted by a throwaway account in the AITA subreddit. The post is titled, "My mom wants to invite my ex whom I cheated on to my wedding. My fiance is absolutely furious. I am a 28-year-old man who was a terrible person in the past, but I have moved on from that. I used to drink a lot and cheated on my ex-girlfriend, who is 27, countless times during our 3-year relationship. I don't know how she stayed with me for so long. One day, she found out I was cheating again and broke up with me, which I don't blame her for. My family cut me off, which was heartbreaking. I eventually improved myself, went to therapy, and apologized to my family. We reconciled. I found out my mother and my ex-girlfriend were still in contact, which I didn't mind. They were close even when I was with her. My family invites my ex to family gatherings because her family is, let's say, not that good. I don't care. We are civil and don't interact much. Eventually, I met a new girl, 28, and 1 year later, I am engaged to her. She knows how I was in the past, as I told her. We are planning a wedding to host only close friends and family. Then the problem arose. My mother, who is close with my ex, wants to invite her to the wedding and my fiance is absolutely furious. The reason my mother gives is that it is a family event. Honestly, I don't want my ex to be at my wedding either. I called her fiance to talk about it and she said the same thing. She doesn't want my ex there, but my mother is insisting, which is infuriating. My mother is still saying she won't come if my ex isn't invited and my fiance has had arguments with her. I am seriously thinking of not inviting my mother at all, but if she doesn't come, I am afraid I might be cut off from my family again. This is so infuriating. Update. Honestly, I got overwhelmed with the responses. Thank you to everyone who replied. As most of you said, I grew a spine and talked to my mother with my fiance and me sitting down. She wouldn't drop it, saying she doesn't like my fiance, so my fiance yelled at her. Now, she's not coming to my wedding anymore. I sent a message to all the wedding guests explaining the situation, that my mother wants to invite my ex to the wedding and basically most of them are on my side. Those who said I am ungrateful are uninvited and blocked. My brother, 34, called me to say I did the right thing, which was a relief. Going forward, I will probably go low contact with my mother. My ex called me. My fiance and I talked to her on speakerphone. She apologized and said she told my mother no and won't change her mind. I said okay, and of course, she is not invited. My father said he's not coming either if his wife isn't coming, which is understandable. So the wedding will actually be small with 50 people, but the planned reception is huge, with 150 people, which my father and my father-in-law are throwing on my behalf. My mother will be there, so there might be drama. Edit. I should have added that my father and father-in-law are hosting the reception together. I will have security at the wedding just in case. Update 2. I had a talk with my father-in-law and fiance about the whole situation, and my father-in-law will be covering the cost of the reception by himself. I offered him some money, but he refused, saying I am like his son, which made me tear up. My father and father-in-law had a shouting match on the phone about it, so my father and mother are not coming to the reception anymore. My fiance is happy, and I am glad that our wedding and reception are going to be drama-free. We will definitely have security there, but it's going to be hard to explain to everyone what happened. Many people are probably going to bail out of the wedding. I haven't talked to my parents since, and I will probably contact my father after the wedding and reception are over. Last night, to be honest, I cried like a baby because my mother and father won't be there, but my fiance comforted me. She is probably the most amazing woman I've met. I can't wait to spend my life with her. Also, I failed my PhD exam. The results came a few hours ago, but I'm going to try again later, I guess. Going forward, I'm probably going to be low contact with my father and have no contact with my mother. Update 3. Yesterday I got married. It was the happiest day of my life, but it still hurt not having my parents there. I never thought they would go this far against me. They didn't even come to the reception. Honestly, I cried after the reception, but my fiance was understanding and comforted me. I couldn't have asked for a better partner than her. My ex sent a message of congratulations after the wedding, and I replied with a thank you. I still haven't contacted my parents, but my father sent an air fryer as a wedding gift to my address. It's just an appliance, so I'll use it. The reception was awesome too. Thank you all for your wonderful comments, support, and suggestions. Sometimes I think I I don't deserve all this because of how terrible I was in the past, but people can change. If you've done something wrong before, don't let it define you. Keep it in mind, learn from it, and move on. You can change. Tony164 said, after missing her son's wedding, even the ex is distancing herself from the mother. Now, her relationship with OP, his wife, and any future children they may have will always be strained. Coming in the Nile said, I don't know what games the mother is playing here, but they are all stupid ones. To this comment, user Snoo said, she wants control because she doesn't like her daughter-in-law. Just wait until OP has children and his mother doesn't get to see them. This next post was made in the same subreddit by a user named SuperDonut. The post is titled, I don't let my roommate's boyfriend shower at our place anymore. I, 21 female, live in a 2-bedroom flat with my roommate, 22 female. We have lived together for a little over a year and mostly things have been fine. We split rent and bills evenly and were friendly, though not super close. We respect each other's space and it's been good up until recently. About 6 months ago, she started dating this guy, 24 male. He was around once or twice a week at first, but now he's here constantly, literally sleeps over 5 to 6 nights a week, sometimes for full weeks in a row. He's not on the lease, doesn't pay rent, doesn't bring groceries, and doesn't help with anything at all. I have never said much because I get it. He's her boyfriend and I didn't want to start drama, but what's been bothering me lately is the shower situation. He showers all the time, at least twice a day, sometimes more. Every single time he uses my shampoo, conditioner, face wash, razor, and deodorant, yes, I noticed. I didn't say anything the first few times because I thought maybe she let him borrow something once, but this is ongoing now. I've moved all my things into my room and carry them back and forth like I'm at camp. I brought it up to my roommate a while ago and she just said he probably didn't realize, but didn't do anything about it. Last week, I finally said something more direct and told her I wasn't comfortable with him constantly showering here, especially since he doesn't live here, doesn't contribute anything, and uses my stuff. I told her I would feel differently if he at least bought his own things or chipped in somehow. She got really annoyed and said he doesn't have any money right now, so it's not like he can buy his own things, and said I was being cold and controlling. She told me I was overreacting and that it's just hygiene. I snapped and said it's not about hygiene, it's about boundaries and respect. For what it's worth, I wouldn't even have minded grabbing him some basics if she had just asked, but she didn't and neither did he. They just assumed I would be fine with it. Honestly, I don't even really like him. He's not awful, just kind of moochy and not self-aware at all. So maybe I'm being harsh because I already find him annoying. Now, my roommate is barely speaking to me and told one of our mutual friends that I'm being weirdly territorial and passive-aggressive over a guy taking a quick shower. I don't know. Part of me feels bad because he is broke and maybe I'm being too harsh, but I also feel like I'm being walked over in my own home. I just need unbiased advice. So am I the one in the wrong? Update. So I ended up having another conversation with my roommate after she got home, mostly because I couldn't keep walking around like everything was fine when it really wasn't. The comments I read on my previous post helped me come to that conclusion. I told her as calmly as I could that this situation was seriously getting to me. I understand that she's in love, but I'm not just some side character in her life who has to deal with her boyfriend constantly being in our home. I told her flat out that it's been months now of him basically living here. Eating, showering, lounging around, sleeping over 5 or 6 nights a week, and that it's crossing the line. She just blinked at me and said I was being heartless. She literally said those exact words, telling me I had no compassion for her relationship or for him, or for the fact that he barely has any money and needed somewhere to stay and food to eat. She accused me of being dramatic and of caring more about my shampoo than about the person who means the world to her. I just snapped. I told her it wasn't about the shampoo. It's about the fact that her boyfriend, who doesn't pay rent, doesn't contribute to bills, and isn't even on the lease, has been using all of my personal stuff for months without asking. Seriously, not once did either of them ask. He just started helping himself to my shampoo, conditioner, razor, face wash, and deodorant as if I'm running a free hotel and he's a guest. And the worst part is, he barely even talks to me. This man has been living in my space for months, and we've maybe had 2 conversations ever. Half the time, he doesn't even say hi when he walks in, just walks straight past me and hops in the shower with my products like it's no big deal. I can't believe I've put up with it for this long. I told her that if either of them had just asked once, I probably would have been fine with it. I get that he's broke and times are hard. I would have even offered to buy him a few basics if he was short on cash, but no one said anything. They just silently decided it was okay for him to mooch off me, my stuff, and my space, and that I don't get a say in any of it. She got super defensive, arms crossed, and full of attitude, and said something like, "Well, he's my boyfriend and I'm allowed to have him over. It's my home too." I said, "Yes, you are allowed to have him over, but let's not pretend he's just here sometimes. He's always here. He's been here more nights than not for the past few months, and even when he's not sleeping over, he's still around. He's basically moved in without actually moving in, and if he's going to act like he lives here, then he needs to contribute like he lives here." She just rolled her eyes and said, "Get used to it. He's my boyfriend, and as I said before, he has barely any money, so wouldn't be able to contribute anything." That was it for me. I've been patient, I've tried to be understanding, I've given them the benefit of the doubt over and over again, but at this point, I feel completely disrespected and walked over in my own home. I've realized I'm not overreacting, I'm simply reacting to months of not being heard and being treated like I don't matter. I'm calling our landlord tomorrow morning. I'm going to explain that this guy has effectively moved in. He's been staying here for weeks on end, using the amenities, taking up space, and not paying a single penny toward rent or bills. If he's going to keep staying here, he needs to start paying his share. I didn't want it to come to this, but I'm not going to keep carrying the weight of a third person in this flat just because my roommate is in a relationship. She made it clear she's not going to do anything about it, so now I have to. Thank you for your responses on the previous post. They really helped me come to terms with the situation. Update 2, thank you all for your help and comments on my previous posts. And yes, as you can tell, I have taken on board the advice about paragraphs and capitalization. Sorry, I was just so used to typing with no capitals and totally forgot about paragraphs in the stress of writing everything out. I appreciate everyone who took the time to comment. Honestly, it made me feel so much less crazy about all of this. As I said I would, this morning I spoke to my landlord. I was really anxious before calling because I didn't want it to seem like I was tattling or trying to blow things up, but I also knew I couldn't ignore it any longer. He picked up quickly and was actually very calm and professional. I explained the situation clearly and fairly and told him my roommate's boyfriend has been staying over 5 or 6 nights a week, sometimes more, using all of our utilities, taking over our shared space, and even using my personal things as if it's all free, despite not paying a single penny toward rent, bills, or any shopping. The landlord paused for a moment and then said it wasn't okay. He explained that technically under the lease, guests are allowed for short stays, like the occasional overnight or a weekend. But he stressed that's very different from someone effectively living in the flat. If someone is staying over more than a couple of nights a week on a consistent basis, that counts as an unofficial tenant. He said if my roommate wants him there full time, he needs to be added to the lease and must start contributing to rent and bills immediately. Otherwise, her boyfriend will have to seriously cut back on how often he's there. And if my roommate refuses to cooperate or tries to keep things as they are, it could result in her being in breach of the lease agreement. He said she could face consequences, including possible eviction if this continues without resolution. That honestly shook me a little, but also validated that I'm not overreacting. Now onto the more awkward part. A few hours ago, around 5 p.m., her boyfriend showed up again. As he came in and went to walk past me like usual, I stopped him and said I needed to talk. He looked caught off guard and gave me that fake, confused about what expression, but I stood firm and said I just needed to clear the air. I told him I'd noticed he's been staying constantly and using all my stuff. My shampoo, face wash, razor. Yes, I got a new razor the same day I noticed. Deodorant, all of it, without ever asking. I said I was really uncomfortable with it, especially since he's not on the lease or contributing anything. He got defensive. He didn't yell, but his tone turned snappy and guilt-trippy. He said he was sorry he didn't have somewhere else to go and that he was in a dark place. He said he wasn't trying to make my life hard, he was just trying to survive. Then he launched into a monologue about being unemployed, struggling with his mental health, how his family all cut him off, and he can barely afford food, let alone shampoo. He said my attitude was another example of people turning their backs on someone already at rock bottom. He even asked if I thought he wanted to be in this position or felt good about how he's living, like I was supposed to feel guilty for bringing it up. I stayed calm and told him I wasn't trying to kick him while he's down. If he had just asked me, I probably would have said yes and might have even bought him some basics. But he didn't ask, he just helped himself like it was owed to him. He didn't have much of a response except to shrug and mutter that he didn't think it was a big deal, and my roommate told him it was fine. I said it is a big deal to me. This is my home too, and he's been treating it like a free house he's allowed to live in, and that's not sustainable anymore. I told him my landlord is getting involved and things must change. Either he gets added to the lease and starts paying his share, or he stops staying over all the time. If that doesn't happen, my roommate could end up being evicted. He got quiet after that, gave me an annoyed, half-hearted apology, and went into her room. Honestly, I think he was more embarrassed than anything, but I'm not backing down because I've done my part and been patient. I've communicated like an adult, so what happens next is on them. No word yet from my roommate after her conversation with the landlord, which I assume happened as my landlord usually follows through. She still hasn't come home, which makes me think she's furious. That said, I'm done prioritizing her comfort over my own peace of mind. I've been more than fair. I'll update again if and when my roommate says anything to me. Also, I have officially locked away my shower items and the snacks that I bought with my own money. I went to Argos this morning and got a lockable storage box that I slid under my bed as some of you suggested. I made a unique 4-digit code for it too, so hopefully my roommate's boyfriend won't go so far as to try snooping through a locked box. Update 3, I'm hoping this will all blow over soon as confrontation is not my thing in general, and this is a situation I really don't want to be in. I don't want to be the reason someone who is already struggling ends up on the streets. Before I get into the latest update, I noticed someone asked why I didn't just ask my roommate why her boyfriend doesn't use her things. The answer is he already does. He uses both of our stuff whenever he feels like it, but for some reason, it's mostly mine that he grabs. Anyway, my roommate came home about an hour ago, just before noon, and it was obvious from the second she walked through the door that she was furious. She slammed the front door, slammed her keys a little too hard onto the side table, and threw her bag down. I was in the living room at the time, and the energy shift was instant. I waited a moment, then came out, said hello, and asked as gently as I could if everything was okay. She didn't answer right away, she just stood there with her jaw clenched before blurting out that she couldn't believe I actually called our landlord, then asked me why I was being so dramatic. I stayed calm and said I'd already told her I would if nothing changed and that I wasn't going behind her back. She gave a bitter laugh and said something along the lines of, yeah, well, now thanks to that, our landlord told me in no uncertain terms that boyfriend is not allowed to stay more than 2 nights a week anymore unless he starts paying rent. She was absolutely livid. She asked me if I even understood what that meant. She told me he literally has nowhere else to go right now and he's been staying here because he doesn't have a home, not because they were trying to take advantage of me. She kept saying he was struggling and had no money to pay rent or bills, and now what? Was he just supposed to wander around in the cold at night and freeze while I, and I quote, sleep soundly knowing your shampoo's safe and sound? That last line was so sarcastic it would have been funny if it wasn't so frustrating and guilt-tripping. I took a deep breath and said it was not about the shampoo, it was about the fact that he has been here constantly, literally living here, without ever being asked to contribute anything and has barely acknowledged me at all. I mentioned that I'd tried to talk to her about it twice and she blew it off both times. What else was I supposed to do? She crossed her arms and looked at me like I was the most cold-hearted person alive. She told me he's her boyfriend and of course she would want him here, that he's going through so much and now I've made him feel completely unwelcome. She said his family cut him off one day for no reason and all his friends had stopped talking to him and apparently treated him awfully, which in my opinion is ironic, but maybe that's just me. Apparently, he called her after I confronted him earlier and told her he was going to stay at a friend's place tonight, and he sounded like he was about to cry before he hung up the phone. Then she said this was just another example of people not caring about him when he needs it most. I literally didn't even hear him leave, so he must have crept out. I could feel the guilt tripping in every word, but honestly, I'm done letting it work on me. I said I was sorry he's going through a rough time, but this is my home too. I pay rent, I pay bills, I keep this place going just like she does. I'm not an extra in her relationship. She brought someone into this space without asking, let him treat it like it was his, and didn't lift a finger when it started affecting me. That's not okay. She went quiet at that, still clearly annoyed, but with nothing left to say, that wouldn't sound like more of the same. After a few seconds, she just said, "I hope you're happy," and walked into her room, slamming the door behind her. I'm not happy, I didn't want it to come to this, but I'm also not sorry. I've been way more patient than I should have been, and I've tried to handle this like an adult. I don't think her boyfriend feeling unwelcome is because I'm cruel. It's because they both acted like the rules didn't apply to them, and that's not my fault. So I guess this is where things stand for now. Tense, awkward, and probably about to get worse before they get better. But I feel like I can finally see the horizon of no more stolen shampoo, and hopefully this will all be over soon. Thank you for all your comments, they mean a lot to me. Update 4. I just wanted to say thank you again for the incredible support, advice, and unbiased opinions you've given me throughout this whole messy time. I've read every single comment on my last few posts, and it's been genuinely eye-opening in a beautiful way to realize how many people are willing to offer advice when my head was spinning. So it's been tense but quiet since my last post. My roommate has barely spoken to me, and things have mostly been awkward silence or heavy sighs. I've kept my boundaries up and stayed polite, but we both clearly needed space. Yesterday, my roommate and her boyfriend had a huge argument. I wasn't eavesdropping, but it was loud enough that I couldn't help but hear since our walls are thin and they were yelling. He was accusing her of being a bad girlfriend for not sticking up for him when I spoke to our landlord or when I raised the issue. He actually said she let me humiliate him and didn't defend him, and claimed I made him look pathetic. He went full guilt trip, saying she'd betrayed him, that real partners protect each other, and that he felt humiliated and abandoned. It was like watching someone weaponize hurt feelings to control the narrative. She was crying and trying to explain, but he kept cutting her off, and suddenly he slammed the door and stormed out. She left shortly after. I thought that was probably the end of the drama for the night. I genuinely felt bad for her in that moment. But then at around 2 a.m., she came stumbling in tipsy and immediately started shouting at me. She slurred that I was just jealous and mad because I don't have a boyfriend, which honestly couldn't be further from the truth, considering her boyfriend seemed so cruel and manipulative towards her. Then she said I can't stand seeing her happy, so I ruined things for her, and called me bitter and pathetic. She accused me of sabotaging her relationship because I'm lonely. I just sat there stunned. She then stomped off to her room and passed out cold. This morning, I woke up to find her at the kitchen table looking rough. She was clearly feeling hungover and low. She mumbled that she doesn't know what to think anymore and wonders if her boyfriend is only with her for her money. I genuinely tried to be kind because it must be a tough situation. I told her I was sorry she felt that way and that she deserves better if that's how she feels. For a moment, I thought we were having a real conversation, but then she looked me in the eye and said literally, "This is your fault." My jaw dropped. I said, "Excuse me," and she repeated herself. She told me if I hadn't blown everything out of proportion and gone to our landlord, none of this would have happened and her boyfriend wouldn't be angry. She said I ruined everything. At that moment, I realized this just isn't fair. I've been nothing but fair. I have tried so hard to set boundaries respectfully, communicate like an adult, and avoid drama. I've gone out of my way to make this place livable, yet I'm now being blamed for everything. Her boyfriend treated the flat like a free hotel, and she's too deep in to see it. Now I'm being guilt-tripped for standing up for myself. Which brings me to the next part of this post. Our lease is up for renewal on August 1st. The landlord emailed us both yesterday with a standard renewal reminder and asked us to let him know by July 1st if we intend to stay, so he has time to prep paperwork or list the flat. I've thought long and hard, and I've decided I do not want to live with her anymore. Even if her boyfriend disappeared tomorrow, the trust and respect are gone, and my sense of comfort at home is hanging by a thread. I won't be renewing my half. Whether I find a new place alone or with someone else, I'm not staying here. I haven't told her yet because I'm not in the mood to get screamed at again, but I'll be giving proper notice soon and reaching out to the landlord to clarify the process. I'll handle it properly and respectfully, but I know for certain that I am done living here. I have mentally committed, and this weekend I'm going to start looking for a new flat or house share. I'm equal parts nervous and excited. Nervous because the current location is good and the rent, though not cheap, is reasonable for what it is. I know I might not get so lucky again, especially solo, but I'd rather pay a bit more than keep sacrificing my sanity. If anyone has any tips or suggestions for websites for flat shares or house shares in the UK, I would massively appreciate them. I'm using Spare Room, Rightmove, Open Rent, RoomGo, and a few local Facebook groups I'm cautiously checking out. Also, has anyone had better luck finding a place as a group of renters signing together rather than joining an existing house share? I'd love to hear about your experiences, good or bad. It's sad that it came to this because this flat could have been a dream, but I know I'm making the right decision. I deserve a place that feels like mine, or at least one where I'm not constantly being pushed out emotionally. So, wish me luck. And if anyone knows of a spare room in a chill flat with non-toxic housemates and respected boundaries, feel free to manifest it into the universe for me. Thank you to everyone who's commented and supported me through this absolutely bonkers situation. You've made me feel sane and reminded me that I deserve to feel safe, respected, and comfortable in my own home. Update 5. If you've been following any of my previous posts, you'll know it's been a tense, chaotic, and honestly emotionally exhausting time dealing with my roommate and her boyfriend essentially living rent-free in my flat, while I've slowly been pushed out of my own space and lost my sanity. The messages and comments you have left me throughout have genuinely meant so much to me. A lot has happened in the last 2 weeks, and I wanted to update you properly. Things have continued to be awkward. Very, very painfully awkward. Since my last post where my roommate drunkenly accused me of sabotaging her relationship and said everything was my fault, she's barely spoken a word to me. I think we've exchanged at maybe 2 sentences since then, and both were just about household things like, "Have you seen the post?" or "The boiler man's coming on Thursday." Her boyfriend has still been around, despite everything that was said. Not as much as before, since they're definitely trying to keep it under the radar now that the landlord's aware. She is clearly choosing to keep him in her life, and that's her decision, but I can't pretend it doesn't suck to come home and feel that constant tension in the air. To be fair, he hasn't touched any of my things since the confrontation, probably out of shame or fear I'll report him again, but the atmosphere hasn't improved. She still looks at me like I'm the villain in her love story, and I'm honestly just so tired of being cast in that role. Now here's where things actually improve. After I gave notice to my landlord that I wouldn't be renewing the lease, he asked if I was planning on staying in the area, and I said yes. I've been flat hunting non-stop online, but nothing quite felt right. A few days after my last post, I was reading through the comments and a few people suggested I ask the landlord if there were any other units available in the same building. Honestly, I hadn't even thought of that. I just assumed everything around here was taken, but I figured I had nothing to lose by asking. So I emailed him, just casually saying that before I committed to moving out of the building entirely, I wanted to check if any other units would be available soon. He replied the next day saying one of the flats just upstairs, literally 1 floor above us, was going to be vacant from mid-July. Same layout, same rent, same everything, but slightly newer kitchen fittings and a nicer view. He even offered me a first viewing since I'm a current tenant and have always paid rent on time. I was honestly stunned. Same building, same landlord, same floor plan, and no dramatic roommate. Sign me up. I viewed the new unit last week. It's still a 2-bedroom, which works perfectly because my friend, who I've known since 6th form and who's been looking to move out of her current house share, is trying to move around the same time. We caught up to talk about it and realized our timelines lined up pretty much perfectly. She came to view it with me the second time around and loved it. We signed the lease together this past Wednesday, and we officially get the keys on July 17th. Now here's the cherry on top. My current roommate isn't renewing her lease either. Apparently, after all the landlord stuff happened, she decided she doesn't want to stay in the building anymore. I'm guessing she doesn't want to be under the same roof as me. She mentioned in passing that she's moving somewhere with fewer rules, whatever that means. So as it stands, she's moving out, I'm moving into a new unit 1 floor up, and will no longer be flatmates. I haven't told her where I'm moving yet. I didn't lie, but I also didn't feel like I owed her an explanation. When she asked if I'd found anywhere yet, I just said I'd sorted it with the landlord and left it at that. If she finds out I'm literally upstairs, that might be slightly awkward. Just to paint a realistic picture for anyone reading who's UK based or curious, here's how the process is working. I formally gave my 30 days notice in writing to the landlord as soon as I decided not to renew. He accepted it and noted my tenancy ends on July 31st. The landlord already knows me and I've always paid rent on time, so getting the new lease was smooth. No agency faff this time, which I'm so grateful for. It was just a standard credit check and ID confirmation. Since it's the same landlord and he uses a registered deposit scheme, he's allowing the deposit from this unit to be rolled over into the new flat pending an inspection of my current one. So if I leave this place in good condition, I won't have to pay another full deposit. We get the keys to the new flat on July 17th, even though this lease ends on the 31st, giving me 2 full weeks to move gradually, clean, and avoid a stress meltdown. My dad even offered to come up with his car and help with the heavier stuff. My friend's lease ends around the same time, so we'll be moving in together over that weekend. I've already sorted council tax and utilities with the landlord. He'll notify the local council, and we just need to set up the new water, electric, and internet accounts from the 17th. We'll split costs 50-50, exactly as I always hoped. Honestly, I feel so thankful. Knowing I won't have to be in a flat where I'm constantly tiptoeing around a very moody roommate and her hobosexual boyfriend is such a relief. I'm excited to decorate a new space and set new boundaries from day one. My friend and I have already talked openly about how we want to divide shared costs, and it all feels normal. I could actually cry at the idea of normal. So now I'm prepping for the move, starting to box up non-essentials, deep cleaning little bits each day, and honestly enjoying the idea of creating a new home from scratch. I've started making Pinterest boards for our new living room and my bedroom. I'll probably do a little post-move update once we're in and settled. Thank you to every single person who has read, commented, messaged, or just rooted for me in the background. I owe you all a virtual hug. Valrona said, it felt like OP could have tolerated the situation if the roommate's boyfriend had at least said, hey, what's up? And thanked her for letting him stay over. But he treated OP as poorly as he treated everyone else in his life who had already disowned him, making OP too uncomfortable to continue living like that. For a hobosexual, he really needs to learn some basic manners. The roommate seemed to be literally suffering from cognitive dissonance. She wanted to believe her foolish partner, but also felt like he was taking advantage of her. It was easiest for her to lash out at OP. Was the roommate feeding him or paying for his food? That is something OP hardly mentioned. The cost of shampoo is insignificant compared to someone consuming all of your eggs or using all of your bread. Daily Dad Joke said, she lost me at he's using her razor. That's foul. Thank you so much for making it to the end of the video, and thank you also to partner of the channel, Gamersupps. Use code DLAM to support the channel and get 10% off of your purchase, link in the description. I'm sure many of you like me have a hankering for daily caffeine, so go check them out. Lately, I've been a big fan of Titty Milk and Acid Rain, but they've got dozens of other flavors for y'all to try out. Anyway, thanks again for reaching the end, and I hope you all have an amazing passage of the next 24 hours.